Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
What? Do what?
Let the dogs out. You know, like, who let the dogs out?
Who let the dogs out?
Dude, I almost had you. You never had.
Who let the dogs out?
The pleasant noise you are about to hear coming from your radio is not a mistake.
Did somebody slip up and write stupid on my forehead?
Explain why you went 61 in a 25 zone.
I was drag racing. I'm a drag racer.
You were drag racing in a Prius.
I don't win a lot.
I want you to back out on that track and hit the pace car. Hit the pace car? Hit the pace car! What for? Because you hit every other damn thing out there. I want you to be tough.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
You jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it? Oh, righty.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
And welcome to Racin Nation. Matt Nix, Sean Sullivan going to join you for the next 60 minutes. We're going to hang out here, talk a little NASCAR, talk a little IndyCar, talk a little bit of NHRA coming to right here to our front door, I guess we would say, because it's going to be right up north in Gainesville, Florida this weekend, along with the Sebring 12 hours of Sebring in Sebring, Florida. Still, the epitome of NASCAR racing in general, IndyCar racing, everything seems to start right here, Sean Sullivan.
Yes, sir, it sure does. It starts right here in the great state of Florida, and this weekend is more evidence that, wow, do we have another big weekend, just like last weekend with the St. Petersburg Grand Prix.
Oh, St. Petersburg Grand Prix was phenomenal last weekend. And actually, I'll take that back. Let me digress just a little bit. We're gonna dissect it just a little. We're not gonna delve too deep into it, but I was a little bored for about the first 40 laps of that race.
Yeah, I was going to say something about that. I'm glad I didn't because you did it for me, but yeah, I was really bored. And I started to say to myself, Matt, is this what we have to look forward to at IndyCar this year?
Well, and this is the thing. There was a lot of changes that happened out during the offseason in IndyCar. They did a lot of work on the aero packages for those cars, and it just seemed like that the Team Penske was just going to take off and run away with everything.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, but I'll tell you what, the Honda coming back with its own aero package this year, I think that's going to make it a little bit competitive.
Well, it is. It is. I mean, we're going to have teams like Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan right there in the mix with these juggernaut teams. I mean, we had a Penske 1, 2, 3, 4 finish for qualifying on Saturday.
Yeah, we did. For the race, but that's not how they ended up. And what's the bigger story to me was Will Power puts it on the pole and then sits out the race. I mean, the guy was really, I think it was from the Friday crash. I think he had a concussion.
Well,
period.
Now, and this is how it kind of played out with the media at the St. Pete Grand Prix, is we were told that Will Power had a flu-like virus.
That's correct.
And then it came out, well, he might have he has a concussion. He might have
a concussion.
He might have a concussion. No, he has a concussion. And now, today, here we are Wednesday night, and it's been released this morning that after extensive testing that was done in Miami, at University of Miami Hospital there in Miami, he does not have a concussion. He has an inner ear infection that's very bad.
It's very bad. Yeah, it's a vertigo type situation, and that's going to definitely stop you from having your full equilibrium in order to participate and just get the right feel, period. So it's probably a smart thing that he did sit out, but myself, and I'm just a minor person, and a lot of other fans were awful disappointed because I thought he was going to put it just win the thing.
Well, I mean, he set a track record. He put his number 12 car on the pole for the second time in his career in St. Petersburg.
Yep.
And then he sits out the race. Not only did he sit out the race, but he didn't even attempt warm up.
No, he was sick. I mean, that guy's somebody, let's face it, he's not going to sit anything out if he can avoid it. And I mean, he was really sick. They put Oriol Serbia in. I mean, he didn't do much. He had the fastest car in St. Petersburg that day. He didn't do so good.
Well, I have a soft spot in my heart for Oriole.
I do too.
And part of that has to do with the friendship of Justin Wilson, and that was probably one of the biggest things that hit me this weekend while we were there, and that was the fact that I walked through the paddock knowing that I would not see Justin.
Yeah, and you and I had lunch. Thank you to Honda. Honda was they were very good to us. They gave us the ability to sit down in their hospitality tent and have a nice lunch, a nice relaxed lunch. I was very fortunate to get and sit and have a lunch with Stefan Johansson, who has had 77 F1 races and 8 podiums. So I was able to talk to him a little bit, and Honda was really nice to us, and they took real good care of us. But yeah, you and I did discuss that you were missing Justin Wilson, and one of your favorite IndyCar drivers.
Yeah, and a good friend. I mean, and that's one of the things that when and we spoke to AJ Allmendinger about this, and it was one of the things that was brought up to him was, would he want to do the double again? Would he want to do the Indianapolis 500 and the Coke 600 again? And he said after what happened to his friend also, Justin Wilson, no, he will never set foot back in IndyCar how they're set up right now. Now, Formula One making advancements as things go on, and they're introducing a halo system that's going to go on the car. Drivers have mixed reviews about that, and I'm really kind of about it right now, too.
I'm kind of like you on it right now. You know what? I'm going to get an opinion from Jake on that and see what Jake has to say, because Jake Perkins is really up on safety. So with the Safer Racer program and everything. So yeah, I'm going to ask Jake and a couple other drivers, but I agree with you. But Matt, you say that Justin Wilson was your friend, and explain to the listeners that he really was. You bashed him in the back playing go-kart racing earlier that year.
You make it sound like I was gunning for the guy.
I mean, you were beating on all those guys. Come on.
Well,
man.
Look. I was the little guy that was trying. Well, there's nothing little about me.
No, there's really not a lot.
I was the less experienced, less qualified driver that was attempting to kind of make my place known during this celebrity media race that we were having at Anderson Park in just up north or just south here in St. Petersburg.
Yeah, and you honestly, I mean, you made yourself known. That's for darn sure, because they recognized you when we went a couple of hey, you're aren't you that guy? You didn't have who are you sponsored by?
Yeah, who are you wrecking this weekend?
maybe today you're my sponsor. But yeah, it goes right back to what you said, Justin Wilson. I mean, yeah, he's going to be missed, man, more and more as the year progresses.
I actually put in an order, and I haven't even told you about this. I put in an order. You can go to USWAG, USWAG, and order socks. And it's actually a company that Justin and a friend of his started, in their athletic racing socks. So I've ordered some Racin Nation racing socks from USWAG. And we're going to be giving those out later on throughout the year as gifts and prizes.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. That's really cool that you did that. Anything to benefit Wilson's family is great. And, somebody that we'll miss. We'll have some big surprises. We'll be right back in just a minute. Stand by.
Wish we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. Wish we could turn back time.
To turn back time. Man, wouldn't that be something, Sean? To the good old days.
You hear how I'm stumbling it? Don't even say it. I can't just stop.
Welcome back to Racin Nation. We can turn back that clock and we can come back in now.
Yeah.
Joining us right now, Sean Yoder. He's a broadcast partner with Racin Nation Radio, and he's going to join us for a little bit. He's got some amazing things going on, Sean, and I was actually able to actually get you to go onto Facebook, which is like your nemesis nowadays, and went on there, and I said, well, let's get Yoder on here because he's got all kinds of cool things going on. Sean Yoder, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing absolutely great. Thanks for bringing me on the show.
No problem. So you got all this stuff going on, and you're in Birmingham, Alabama, right down the road from Barber Motorsports Park, or Barber Motorsports. What is it called exactly again?
It's Barber Motorsports Park.
Barber Motorsports Park. I don't understand why racetracks can't just everybody stick with one thing. It's either Barber Raceway or Barber Motorsports Park or Barber Raceway Park or.
At least they don't have international in there. That would, how many different ways can you name a track?
That's the question. I guess that would be a trivia question we could have. How many different
Many,
ways
many.
can you name one racetrack?
All the ways.
Oh my goodness! But you've been having your nose to the grindstone there and plugging along. You've been doing some autocrossing and finding out some neat little tricks with that, and just kind of tell the listeners what's been going on.
Oh, it's actually, since I got involved with Racing Nation, I have had the pleasure to interview Honda Motorsports Alabama, which is the Honda team that's based in Lincoln, Alabama. Interviewed Paul Street from that team. They're running in the Pirelli World Challenge with their Honda Accord program. I got to sit down with Paul and Andrew Rains of Rains Racing and talk about that PWC program and how it's grown from one car in the series last year to 6 cars this year. And the debut round that they just had in Coda, those cars ran well. It was very impressive to watch what they did. Lucky to have those guys in our backyard here in Alabama. I get to talk to them anytime I want to, which is always nice. We've got a young man named Andrew Pinkerton that actually has put together a program with some friends of his, and they're running a fully sponsored car in the Chump Car World Series, and it's sponsored by Waffle House.
I love me some Waffle House.
I love me some Waffle House. Yoder.
Covered, smothered, and racing. It's good stuff, man.
Could you ask for anything more?
You couldn't. You really couldn't. I would go to Waffle House after you race, but I wouldn't do it before. But after is a wonderful thing.
The joke when we go to Volusia Speedway is we got to get out of here before Waffle House closes.
Nice.
Yeah.
You like that?
But
Yoder.
If Waffle House is listening.
Yoder. Yoder. I haven't talked to you in a while, man. I'm glad you came on with us tonight. I told Matt I was looking forward to hearing some of your shenanigans you're doing, man. I'm glad you're part of us again. Big time.
I appreciate you bringing me in. I really do. I've been having a blast with it. The whole Facebook thing is blowing up. The Andrew Pinkerton interview, I mean, people were watching that all over the place. It got shared so many times it wasn't even funny. It's really getting good. And tomorrow night, I'm bringing on a gentleman named Jesse Iwuji.
Hold on. Back that up. Do I need to dump what you just said? What was his last name again?
Iwuji.
Like a Ouija board?
No, not a Ouija board. Iwuji.
An Iwuji board.
Sorry. I had to.
He's an awesome guy. He's in the Navy. He's part of NASCAR's driver development program. He's been racing stock cars out on the West Coast for a while. He goes down to Idaho every once in a while, I believe, and runs winged go-karts on dirt, which they're like 500cc two-strokes. I'm so jealous. I'm threatening to use frequent flyer miles to go out and play with him.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Tomorrow night, we're going to go Facebook Live on Racing Nation with Jesse. I'm going to talk to him about where he's come from, what he's doing now, where he'd like to be in the future. And we're going to do it on Facebook Live, streaming while Jesse and I are running some stock cars around Martinsville and iRacing.
Oh, that's great.
That should be interesting.
Well, hold on. This is like almost so much technology, I think I just went cross-eyed.
I know.
You're going to use Facebook Live on the Racin Nation Facebook page. You're going to use streaming video on iRacing and iRacing, which is technology in itself that is amazing. And then you're going to put that all together and do an interview at the same time.
And I'm going to do it over my cell phone.
Wow. That's impressive.
Does it hurt your brain?
I'm cross-eyed right now. I don't even know what button to push next.
I really do think, this is going to add a component to the interview that is unlike anything anyone's ever done. I've never seen anyone do anything like this. And I streamed a little bit of Forza last night. I was running around VIR in CJ Wilson's Cayman GT4 and in Forza 6. And while I was running around that, I was streaming live on Racing Nation doing that. I was just kind of talking to some folks that popped in, and we're chatting, and I'm trying to talk to people while I'm driving, which is always fun. So it wasn't exactly my finest moment behind the wheel, but it didn't do too terribly bad. But I had the thought, let's combine this technology with an interview, because so many drivers these days are actually involved in some form of simulation, whether it be iRacing, R-Factor 2, there's Assetto Corsa, there's Forza, there's Gran Turismo, there's all these things, and they're truly a path to get people from in front of a PC or a console into a real race car. So let's combine it. The tech's there. Let's use it. Yeah,
and a lot of people don't know that's how me and you actually first became friends, was through simulations.
Yeah, I made you spend money.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, actually, be a little bit more where you guys first met was at the actual 24-hour go-kart race.
Oh yeah.
That's where you met.
Yeah, well, that's where we met. We met through racing, and then come to find out, Sean Yoder has helped develop and bring simulation systems along for what they were 10, 15, 20 years ago to what we see today. And with that, of course, sprouted more interest on my part, because when you talk about technology and toys and, hold on, fill me in more, tell me everything you know.
Yeah.
And then it came through that, hold on, he even has a bigger background in racing to combine with this simulation. So having you part of Racin Nation now is a definite plus, and we're happy to have you back on board with us.
Yeah,
big man.
time.
I'm looking forward to it. I think, like you said, with the tech that's out there now and the ways that we can combine things, we can do things that no one has ever even thought about doing before. And I'm looking forward to being a part of that. Racin Nation is going to do some interesting things for the rest of 2016.
Oh, we most definitely are. We've got some things that, fires in the or irons in the fires and fires in the irons, however you want to say it.
We do.
And we're moving forward, chugging on along.
Yeah. It's going to be fun.
Just wait, Yoder. We've got some big news coming up. Not today, not tomorrow, but maybe towards the end of the week or the beginning of next week. We're going to shock you with something you never expected before. So just stand by. We can't even tell you yet, and you're an insider.
Wow.
I'm serious. I'm not messing with you.
Now, do you feel left out?
I feel a little left out, but I think it's going to be okay. I think it's going to be okay.
It's only Matt and I that know.
It'll definitely be okay, brother. Hey,
does it involve me getting to drive race cars?
More than likely,
yes.
Of some sort and fashion. Does it involve me getting to drive race cars? Is the next question, and hopefully, some sort, form, or fashion. Yes.
All I want to do is drive race cars, Nick. That's all I want to do.
I think that is probably what we all want to do.
Yeah, it is.
Yoder, I've heard your
about
background.
them, I want to be in them.
I've heard your background. Matt told me your whole background. Honestly, man, I'm really impressed. I didn't know that you have done all the things you've done. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you again at Barber. So we'll get to hang out with you at Barber, and I'm sure we'll be able to get a lot of things accomplished then.
I believe.
I'm sure.
I believe Yoder's going to join the Racin Nation crew. We're going to do Barber Motorsports Park for the IndyCar race, and then take a week a hiatus in Alabama, and then shoot on across and do the Talladega race again, like we did last year.
Obviously, Matt's coming up, and he's staying at Casa de Yoda.
Yeah.
Sean, you're more than welcome to do the same. We've got plenty of room.
Yeah, it'd be 2 nights, so yeah.
We've got a queen bed upstairs that is in a suite all its own, and you and Matt in the same bed. I don't know.
Ooh.
Luckily, we all have faces made for radio, and no one has to really see that.
That's a true thing, and that means quite a bit. Yeah, we all do. Yeah, we're all not the smallest people either. So me and Matt in the queen bed. I'm gonna leave it right there.
All right, now I need to digress this just a little bit. Yoder, appreciate you taking some time with us. I know you got a busy schedule. I know you got other things and other irons in the fire doing your day job, and we have to get to a commercial break. So appreciate you coming on. Thanks for spending some time with us, brother.
Thanks for having me, and look forward to that interview with Jesse tomorrow night.
Yeah, it'll be up there, Racin Nation Facebook. You can stream that right there. He'll be live on Racin Nation on the Facebook page. Check it out. You do not want to miss it because it's going to be fun. Hey, we're going to go to a quick break. We'll be back with more Racin Nation here in just a moment.
In my head, shifting and drifting. Turn my stereo up and roll my windows down, 'cause it reminds me of my first kiss and those days that I always miss. Tom Petty on the radio.
Welcome back to Racin Nation. Matt, Nick, Sean Sullivan joining you tonight. We got about 30 minutes left, so we're going to have to shift gears and get things moving here because we still have Matt Weaver from AutoWeek.com is going to be joining us here in about 8 minutes.
Yeah, give or take 8 minutes. And Matt and I have a very busy weekend coming up to start, where I'm going to start out on Friday morning early, bright and early. I'm going to be there when the track opens, 7 o'clock sharp, because Gator Nationals in Gainesville is my absolute favorite event of the year. So I am really looking forward to it. So for the fans that aren't familiar, how the NHRA does their program, and it's a 3-day program, is on Friday. They do 2 runs in the nitro classes. So those are called qualifiers. The same thing occurs on Saturday. There'll be 4 runs in total, and they'll set a 16-car field in all 3 in this case, 4 classes, and I'll give them to you briefly. One will be pro stock motorcycle, pro stock cars, then my personal favorite, funny car, which is a nitromethane engine, and then what everybody knows as the dragster. And that the dragster will be the premium class of the show. And then on Sunday morning at 11 o'clock Eastern Time, the NHRA will lower the flag and they will fire up those fire-breathing machines, and the first class to go will be funny car, followed by your dragsters, then the sportsman, and then the last one would be the motorcycles, Pro Mod motorcycles. So that's a brief overview of what's going on. And let me tell you this, guys, if you've never gone to an NHRA event, promise you it is worth your money to go. It's a very reasonable $40 to get in, but that pass gets you in the pits as well. So you can walk up to your favorite driver, John Force, Brittany Force, Alexis DeJoria, any of them, Angie Smith, Mike Smith, Del Worsham, Ron Capps, Tony Schumacher, Antron Brown, Eric Ender Stevens. They'll all be there. You can walk up, talk to them, and they'll sign your autograph. So be ready.
I'm ready. I do, have playing some soundtracks in the background for you. Yeah. And we tell the story every now and then. The first time that I actually went to an NHRA event, I was with you. We go up to the 2nd or 3rd floor of the tower right there at the Gator Nationals. And when those cars took off and the glass flexed, and when I mean it flexed, it flexed. It came back at me probably 4 or 5 inches, and all it really took was this. And they were gone.
That's it. 3 seconds.
They were gone, and they were screaming, and they were moving and shaking, and I was in awe, and everyone in the media center was laughing because
it was so
I
funny.
Jumped backwards whenever the glass moved. Yeah, because the last thing you expect is a 6-foot sheet of glass in front of you to come at you.
Yeah, absolutely right. So, guys, I'm telling you, take my word for it. I promise you I wouldn't lead you wrong, especially with something that I have to account for next week. You can call and say, hey, that was the worst time of my life. I promise you won't. Hey, so that's our first event. The second event is Matt is going to be in Sebring for the 12 hours of Sebring. So tell us, Matt.
But 12 hours Sebring is half of the Rolex 24 if you want to look at it that way. Fuel strategies, team strategies, tire strategies, everything is cut in half with these guys. It takes that 24-hour endurance race and it compacts it down and takes it to half of the schedule. Sebring Motorsports Park is a very technical, very fast racetrack.
It is.
And I mean, we're going to have 52 teams out there trying to strive to win the overall championship at the 12-hour Sebring.
Yep.
We have 2 of the 3 pinnacle of endurance races happen right here in the state of Florida. I mean, if you miss them both or miss one, there's no excuse for it. You have the 24-hour Rolex right here at Daytona International Speedway and the 12 hours of Sebring right in our back door in Sebring, Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that's new this year, they're going to go ahead and start Sebring off at 10:40 in the morning. So it's going to end at 10:40 at night. In my opinion, we kind of get ripped off a little. Only about 3.5 hours of dark.
Well, the track there is dark, and it has been for years. And this is something that the drivers, the teams, they all got together with IMSA, and they said, okay, it needs to be. We can't really see. I mean, we have headlights on the car, but it's not like Daytona where you have lights. And let's face it, these guys are not racing Le Mans.
You're right.
So for safety purposes, they said let's do it a little earlier in the day. It'll give you less nighttime driving, and it will actually get the event over quicker.
Yeah.
I mean, not any quicker, but earlier in the day. How about that one?
Sure it will.
So, hey, that was a quick little segment right there. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we should have Matt Weaver from AutoWeek.com on with us. We'll be back in just a minute.
Welcome to my
Welcome back to Racin Nation. Matt Nix, Sean Sullivan in studio. On the phone with us, Matt Weaver. Well, I don't really know who he's with this weekend because he writes for everyone under the sun. Matt Weaver, how are you doing tonight?
Well, we're going to do this once because I don't want to make this like every time we show up in Victory Lane, we're giving the rundown. But I feel like I've got to at least give the shout-out once this season to all my sponsors and all the people that make this happen. So we're going to go down the rundown right now.
All right, ready?
It's Matt Weaver with Racer.com, Auto Week Magazine, who else am I with? Short Track Scene, and you'll appreciate this one, Racing Nation.
Ah, there we go, showing the Racing Nation love. We love that, of course. So, Matt Weaver, you were on the road as usual, putting the miles on the old pickup truck that you got there, and you went to a couple short track races in Mobile, Alabama, then made your way to St. Petersburg, Florida to take in the IndyCar race, and then was scheduled to come hang out with us for a couple days, but decided that you wanted to get back to Charlotte, North Carolina, where your home is now, and get back to the nitty-gritty grind of NASCAR.
Well, real quick, one more for you. About.com. I knew there was one more I left off the old checklist.
You don't have your PR person there with the clipboard showing you the logos so you can make sure that you say them on cue?
You know, I'm not entirely sure you understand what my budget is.
I'm going to go, it's probably about the same thing as mine, which means none.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, I plan to go to Mobile for the NASCAR K&N Series race. It used to be the ARCA race at Mobile, and it changed over to being a NASCAR race. And Mother Nature had her way with the Gulf Coast, as she's prone to do. And I actually just went straight to St. Petersburg on Sunday and saw a pretty darn good race on Sunday. On the way back to North Carolina, sat down and watched the Cup race, and it was a good finish, I guess, if nothing else. And, I wanted to make my way back to North Carolina, and let me tell you why. We got this apartment the weekend before we left for Daytona. So I had it for 3 days, 3 days, 2 nights, and I immediately had to leave this apartment that I just bought and paid for to go down to Daytona for 2 weeks. And look, I love what I get to do, and I love being in Daytona, but I had to leave the apartment that I just bought and paid for 2 weeks. And so then we have Atlanta, and I get to stay home for a week or so, but then we go back to the West Coast, and there's a bunch of other races that I had to do during the interim, and I think that I had like a week and a half of time spent in my apartment after having it for like a month and a half. So, yeah, I just wanted to get back home and kind of enjoy this place a little bit.
You dump all that money to live in a place for a month and a half, and technically you've only spent like 4 days there.
Right, I'm thinking I should probably get a refund.
Yeah, well, speaking of refunds, let's talk about Phoenix for just a second. Was that race, and I don't even want to attempt to put anything into your mind here, was that a great race? Was that an amazing race, or was that just a phenomenal finish?
It was a great finish. I feel like the problem, and I don't want to criticize, NASCAR fans because they're the reason that I get to do what I get to do, but I think we as a racing culture sometimes have a hard time differentiating between a good race and a good finish. And it was a fine race. I mean, there are people calling this one of the best races of all time, and it's like, did anything happen prior to 3 laps to go that was of substance or of note? And I would argue probably not.
No, I mean, there was some good changes for position. There was some battles for position, but they weren't up front battle for position. We're not talking about 1st through 4th that were battling for position. We're talking about 17th through 20th that were back there battling for position. But in my question, I guess, to make it a little more streamlined, is does an amazing finish of a race make the race a great race?
I mean, I would argue no. But again, I feel like today's racing culture definitely overvalues the finish. And to be fair to them, these are the same fans that only tune in with 20 laps to go based on our ratings too. So that's probably the reason for that. It was a good time. I feel like NASCAR has really put in a ton of effort to make this racing package better this year. It really showed through at Phoenix, where I felt like the cars were a little bit more unstable. We still have a lot of work to do. and I guess that's where I'm getting at with this, is that, we can tout the lower downforce package till the sun goes down and comes back up, but these teams are discovering all the lost downforce that NASCAR took away, and so it's kind of a never-ending battle between the sanctioning body and the participants. Sunday was a good time. I think this coming weekend, this Sunday at Auto Club Speedway in California, that's going to be probably a more telling test. A 2-mile high-speed, high-banked, the seams on the racing surface. But it's still very much a work in progress. But, yeah, I think by and large, Sunday was a fun race with an excellent finish.
Now, okay, are NASCAR fans getting spoiled? We're 4 races into the 2016 season. Fontana's coming up next week. That'll be our 5th race of the season. But after 4 races into the 2016 season, we've had 2 magnificent finishes, photo finishes, record-breaking finishes for racetracks, and we're only 4 races into it. Did this package overexceed itself with this last photo finish with Kevin Harvick and oh my goodness?
First of all, calm down, Matthew. You're getting a little overly excited because let's break it down real quick. Daytona was a restrictor plate race.
I know.
And the finish there was heavily encouraged by the nuances of restrictor plate racing. What happened on Sunday was there was a caution and there was a restart with 2 laps to go, and everyone was bunched together anyway. You had one guy staying out on old tires, blocking for his life in front of a guy, Carl Edwards, with brand new tires, and that kind of encouraged that. So it's not the package. The package has nothing to do with what we saw at Daytona, certainly, and it had nothing to do with what we saw at Phoenix. So the package is more indicative of what you see during the first 80% of a race. Before NASCAR starts looking for cautions in all the wrong places and trying to set up that photo finish. So it goes back to what I said a second ago. There's still a lot of work to be done, making these cars a little bit more unstable, taking away the downforce, trying to take away the balance. I mean, hell, we talk about the downforce levels. To me, I feel like the racing itself is really helped by making these cars a little unbalanced. And the last piece of the puzzle is Goodyear. I think Goodyear does not get enough credit this year for the improvement in the racing, and much of that can be contributed to a little bit of a softer tire that they brought here the first 3 real races of the year, and a tire that wears out a little bit. So credit to Goodyear, to NASCAR, everyone in the industry, because this is a decent product here in the first month of the season.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I guess that's what I'm getting a little bit excited about here is, have we already exceeded the expectation for what the racing season is going to look like, or do you think that this type of racing, this type of finishing, will be duplicated throughout the season?
I think it's probably a little bold to expect more of what we saw at Daytona and what we saw at Phoenix, just because it's one of these weird nuances that happens in racing every blue moon, where we've had 2 of the 8 closest finishes in NASCAR history, all within the first 4 races of the year. So, no, I don't think you can expect that for the rest of the year. I would like to think that we will all be happy if we get Atlanta every week. If we get racing that we saw at Atlanta, where guys were all over the racetrack, really loose cars, really unstable in the air. If we have that sort of racing at Kansas and Charlotte and Kentucky and Fontana, Michigan, I think we're all going to be pleased. But like I said at the start of the segment, I think NASCAR is going to have to continue taking downforce away, which is something from my indication they're not too prone on doing. I feel like they're content, and I think that could be the worst thing for the racing product. That's what got us here in the first place. That's what's gotten us 8 or 9 years of really bad racing, is getting content. I think we need to get to Kansas, take away more downforce, chop off the spoiler, chop off the splitter. I think we need to get to the chase and do it again. I don't care if teams are testing for the chase. We need to give the so-called best teams and best drivers in the world a couple of curveballs and make them just deal with it. And hopefully that's what we're going to see from NASCAR here in the next couple of months.
See, now that's something I think we talked about several months ago, was that if NASCAR wanted to keep on going on with this lower downforce package, that they would do a little change up, and the team should show up at the racetrack, and when they get to the racetrack, then NASCAR says, all right, line them up on pit road. Here you go. Here's your spoiler, and here's your radiator pan. Go at it, boys.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, to me it goes back to Kentucky and Darlington last year. The guys did not have much time to practice at all. This was a brand new formula, a brand new package, and those races were excellent. Those races were better than the lower downforce races that we had to the start of this year. And I attribute a lot of that to the fact that we haven't had testing time, we haven't had practice time. We have far too much practice and far too much testing in NASCAR, if you ask my opinion. So for that reason alone, I think that the racing would be virtually or vastly improved if you just keep throwing them that curveball and you give them fewer and fewer less opportunities to be able to figure it out and get the balance on their cars right and just make them go out there with as little data as possible.
All right, Matt Weaver, we appreciate you spending some time with us. It actually kind of sounds a little bit like you've got something else up your sleeve, like you're on the set of a Alfred Hitchcock movie, The Birds. So we know that you're probably out riding your bicycle because getting that fitness in, or you've bought a pet bird to go along with your pet cat.
Well, truth be told, this new apartment of ours is kind of a nature reserve from the sounds of it. So lots of wildlife, lots of hustling and bustling. So, I appreciate you guys having me on the show, and we'll talk at you again next week.
All right, Matt Weaver, appreciate it. Thank you for spending time with us. We'll talk to you next week. So, Sean, and he's right. He's 100% right about 99% of what we just talked about there. I think that NASCAR should do something a little bit crazy and throw a curveball at the teams and say, all right, when they load up, they show up at the track, here you go. Here's a new spoiler. We're not going to tell you what the dimensions are. You're not allowed to touch it. Bolt it on.
And let's go. Yeah, that would be nice, Matt. And like you said, like Weaver said, 2 out of 8 closest have been decided this year. So something, in my opinion, is getting done right by NASCAR. I really like it because that's been a complaint of mine in the past.
It was Brad Keselowski that said last week, after his win, that teams, the big teams, are spending hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to gain the mechanical grip that they have lost from the downforce.
Yep, I believe that because look how dominant Brad was there for a while.
And horsepower. I mean, when you gain back mechanical grip, you gain horsepower in traction.
Yep, absolutely. And hey, it's all relative, but the fans win in the end, and that's what's almost as important as the drivers that win every week.
Rolling to Fontana this week. I mean, this track has the oldest circuit or the oldest surface in the NASCAR Sprint Cup series. This track, they don't even talk about the lanes anymore. They talk about the seams. And it was Kevin Harvick that spoke a little bit earlier this week talking about looking forward to going to Auto Plus Speedway, Fontana, California. And he said, I believe when we get there with this package, I'll be able to run on the 4th seam. Now, technically, that's about 3.5 lanes up.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
if you think about it.
These drivers are used to this track, but it changes. And it changes every year because of the fact that it just gets another year older. It's abrasive. It's hard. It eats up tires. And I believe that we'll see a phenomenal race this weekend at Fontana.
I agree with you 100%. I'm looking forward to it. Overall, Matt, I'm just really looking forward to the week we have coming up.
Exactly. You're going to be at the Gator Nationals, NHRA Gator Nationals in Gainesville, Florida. I will be in Sebring at the 12 Hours of Sebring. I mean, can we really ask for anything more right now? We've done every major racing circuit in the United States already this year.
I don't think we can, and it's been an absolute pleasure, and thanks to the tracks for allowing us to do that. For me, this is my final big to do in Florida this year, with, of course, we're going to do the July races, but for me, it's been a heck of a start to 2016.
2016 has been literally shot out of a cannon. I mean, we started out with the 24 Hours of Rolex, phenomenal racing there, moved right into Winter National, or excuse me, not the Winter Nationals, but the Speed Weeks and Winter Nationals at local short tracks all around the state of Florida. And we've we've been going and going and going and going. I would like to kind of get the sponsorship from the Energizer Bunny right now because we just keep going and going. Oh.
Yeah, we've been going and going and going, that's for sure. And that's another thing. We've been fortunate to get through this year with a little bit of sponsorship, but boy, we could certainly use some new sponsors.
Yeah, speaking of one of those sponsors there right now, Noka Superfood blends you crave pure organic energy, refreshing fruits, veggies, protein, and flaxseed superfoods. They're 110 calories each. Portable pouch, no preservatives, no refrigeration necessary. 3 amazing flavors to choose from. Sweet potato and goji, that one right there, that is my favorite, Sean. Blueberry beet. I told you I don't really care for that one too much, but I'll eat it if I have it because they're good. Mango coconut. They're great for kids, great for hiking, great for off-road camping, or just to have a snack in your backpack. Order yours today online at nokaorganics.com. That's NOKA organics.com.
Yeah, man, it is. They are excellent, and you said it right. I'll have 2 of them in my backpack for the Gators, so I just can't wait. I'm just excited. I'm giddy like a little kid waiting for Christmas the next morning.
Well, you know, I've seen you like this before, and I think we've talked about this several times, and it always has to revolve around either NHRA or it revolves around motocross.
Motocross, yeah.
So,
yep.
Hey, that's it. That's the music. That's the cue. We're out of here.
This week.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's get out of here. We got to go so we can get to Gator Nationals into 12 hours of Sebring. We'll see you next week.
You know where I live. Yeah, you know what we is. Sometimes you gotta stay. Welcome to my